Hello, and welcome to the German New Medicine Stories podcast. Please note that nothing that I or any of my guests say here is or should be misinterpreted as medical information or advice. These are personal stories, not prescriptions. Okay, so today's episode is definitely my favorite of all the ones I've ever recorded, which is saying a lot. Um, so this woman is a mother of five, and we just, cover a whole bunch of different conflicts. First starting with her daughter's constipation and just this really sweet process that she's developed for helping her daughter, um, resolve her constipation and go to the bathroom. And just like so much insight into like how to go about having these conversations with your kids. And I just love kind of this sort of little game that she's made up and this way of talking about this morsel conflict with her daughter. And then we get to some blood sugar issues like high blood sugar, low blood sugar. I don't think we've had this conflict yet on the podcast, so it's a really insightful story. Um, and then some self-devaluation during pubic symphysis pain. Then probably, I'm guessing the next sort of the end, the stories we discuss at the end of the podcast will be like very, very helpful to a lot of people. We're talking about the aggressive constellation. So both this mother is experiencing the aggressive constellation and then also her daughter and how she's kind of pieced that together and began to work on this sort of combination of conflicts. So if you don't know what a constellation is, that's fine. We're just talking about behavioral adaptations. And in this case, understanding the biological reasoning behind aggressive outbursts. So whether that's, kids that are like very, physical tantrums, hitting, attacking the family members, screaming, whatever, going from 0 to 100, instantly, or adults, who are in the same boat. We all know these people. We all, many people run this constellation, and yeah, it's really a game changer to to understand that it's a biological adaptation, that it makes sense. And if you can understand and work to downgrade and soften the identity conflict that's at the root of it, um, or sort of begin to sidestep other people's identity conflicts so that you don't trigger these outbursts in them, it's really just like one of the big gifts that I've also got from GNM. So happy to be talking about it more in depth in this episode. So yeah, I think that's everything we get into. And then I'll also note that my course, Sherlock, Your Symptoms, is open for enrollment. The only time this year, I have no idea when I'm going to run it again, because life is very busy with, a little kid, and we're about to be renovating a house and doing an international move. So um, yeah, it could be another year again before I run the program again. And so I will link that in the show notes of this podcast. If you want that kind of just like clarity and ease and comfort with German medicine, where it's like integrated into your life, you know, you understand how to like easily and efficiently, get to the root and understand your symptoms, your kids' symptoms. Um, and you've been listening to this podcast and you're like, and you're hearing, these are all past students and that have been on recently. And so yeah, if that kind of like relationship to this material is interesting to you, check out my course. There's like a million testimonials, so you can, check out if it's your vibe or not. Um, yeah, enjoyed this episode. I really, really loved it so much.
So my daughter is 7. She's almost 8 now, but we've been doing this for at least a year. And once I got into German New Medicine, she's the type of kid that asks all the questions all the time. And so she's highly involved in everything I'm learning and wants to know herself. So, um, and her father struggles with a lot of constipation too, so I just think it's hilarious. And
Mm.
so she'll like just be sitting on the toilet and call for me and be like, "Mom, I can't poop." And one day I was just like, "Well, honey, it's a morsel conflict. So there's something that you're wanting, but you're not getting it." And she was like, "Well, I really want a cookie." And I was like, "Okay, like, maybe." And then we had to talk about it. kind of over and over again. And I kept asking her, like, it's something that you haven't got, that you
Mm.
haven't asked for, probably.
Mm. Yeah.
And and so after like a lot of things, she, sometimes it's like, well, I really wanted to play this game with my sister, but she didn't want to.
Hmm.
Or I really want to see my cousins and our plans got changed, and so I we don't get to see them anymore. And all these things that like usually it's silly things. And I just am like, if we could break the isolation around it, then maybe you could poop. And a lot of the times it's like, I haven't got to sit with you and chat. And so me just coming into the bathroom and asking her about her experience in her life, being that she's, the oldest of four at the time and now five children, she doesn't get all the attention she
Yeah.
desires. And so a lot of the times it's like I just sit there and talk with her about what's going on in her life and the things that she has wanted but hasn't gotten. And then usually within seconds or minutes she's like, I'm pooping. It worked. um so now anytime she's struggling to poop, she just calls me into the bathroom.
That's so interesting. Wow. I love it. I mean, I think it's very common that, well, I love what you said, the way you said it, that question of like, it's something that you want, but you probably haven't asked for. That's such a beautiful,
Hmm.
like,
Yep.
prompt and just like invitation of like, what haven't you said to me? I love that so much. And I think it's so common that it is like attention and time and just like presence when it comes to kids, especially, big families,
Yes.
busy lives. Like,
Yes.
so yeah, it makes so much sense. And I'm curious, like, so she wasn't like never ever pooping with the constipation, but it was just kind of like like having a challenging time going, and now you guys
Yeah.
have a little ritual that just like helps her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's never been like days constipated before. She just, we're like a family that poops regularly, and so that's not something she's ever been concerned about. My husband, on the other hand, sometimes needs
Mhm.
me to sit with him and ask him the same questions. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like I feel like I need to poop, but I can't, and it's
Yeah.
not coming. And then sometimes it'll be like half a day or a whole day where she's like, I've tried 4 times, but it's not coming out, Mom.
Yeah.
So
And then is there like I don't know, can you tell when she says the thing? Like when, oh, it's the cookie, but then she actually gets to like, oh no, mom, it's actually I wanted you. Like, can you tell when it's,
yeah, I
like
think I've
it's that
noticed there's
moment?
like a little bit of shame. Like she'll be a little embarrassed, to say something. Or it's like I really didn't want to ask because it wasn't fair of me to ask for it.
Oh, yeah, that's totally,
You
that's
know?
makes so much sense. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I find that like it's where I feel the little bit of shame in my feeling or a little bit of like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way. That's my own conflicts. And so it was easy to recognize that in her of like it's something that like you haven't asked for because you haven't felt like it was okay to ask for,
Mhm.
or there is a little bit of shame and like you don't want to want that thing because of whatever reason it is.
Yeah, yeah. And you think that's kind of like her personality, like being the oldest
Yeah.
kid, like not wanting to be a burden kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. She wants to make everyone happy. She wants to make sure everyone's fine. The oldest daughter syndrome.
Yeah. I mean, what like sweet, I mean, curious for you, like how has that felt like as a mom to kind of like learn this about your daughter through her constipation? Like how has that, if it has at all, I don't know, just like changed how you see her or anything?
Yes, it's definitely like brought to my attention her relational needs. And I think that like for me, babies and toddlers are really easy to care for because their needs are so physical
Mm.
and that connection comes really easily. But as our kids get bigger, and now
Hmm.
she's 7 and there's these like relational needs that she has that I
Hmm.
don't necessarily like think of all the time and they're not blaring. There's not this like screaming toddler
Yeah.
at you. But it's still there, and she still
Yeah.
has this like, I just want to sit and chat with you, Mom, like, and how sweet that that's her needs now, and she wants to just have a good relationship with me.
Yeah.
And so I love the moments that we just get to sit and chat, and she asks all her questions, and she even one time when she was like she's sitting on the toilet. She was like, Mom, I think we should have a regular weekly date where we get to just sit and talk. And I was like, I think that's a great idea.
Aw, wow.
So we've hit a whole new level of like childhood. And I'm like, are you 13? Because it seems like you might be 13.
Yeah.
Um,
What a gift though. Like that's just like
yes.
I already feel that in moments with my little baby, who's only 6 months. It's just
Mhm.
like, wow, like I got to like know you in a different way because I know GNM and because I can understand
Mhm.
like what you're communicating through these symptoms. And I'm just
Yes.
like already so excited for these older ages because wow, like how easy
Yeah.
it would be just to like not have ever really like learned that about her or learned like how, I don't know, just like kind of this like everyday sort of background thing it is for her. And to not be
Hmm.
able to like tend to it in this like just easy, simple way because you knew
Yeah.
what it meant. Like it's not like you're not going to go to
Right.
like a practitioner because of her like, she didn't poop one day. Like it wasn't like it's an intense enough symptom to like it's not a
Right.
drama, but
Exactly.
like it's still like such a potent thing to know. And that anyways, I don't know. It makes me happy every single time. Like there's just
Yes.
every day, it's the everyday stuff for GNM. I'm like, oh, people come to it for the big symptoms, but it's just this like daily.
It's totally the little ones. Like for me, just even with all the kids and all their symptoms, it
Mhm.
makes me so aware of their perspective and their experience. And so, it's like when the kid gets a cough and it's like, oh, that thing that happened yesterday where like you got yelled at by this stranger or whatever, like that was scary to you. Like, oh, of course. Like I didn't even think about it from your perspective. I thought about it from my perspective, but now
Yes.
I'm seeing it
That is
from,
such a good point. And I think it's like such a good reminder for parents when you're trying to help your children or understand your children. It's like, it's not about your perspective, it's about theirs. And I
yeah.
feel like because you have 5 kids, it's even more like visible, I suppose, to see like how
Yes.
unique each child is in their response to.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because we've got some kids that are like morsel heavy kids, and then we have others that are, they just have different flavors of how they perceive
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, no, it's totally clear. Like, and I can almost anticipate, like, if we walk through something kind of intense, I'm like, I wonder if they're gonna get, this symptom, and I think that they're probably gonna end up with this symptom. And then just having the ability to like talk through things before symptoms arrive and break the isolation because I know that's probably gonna be traumatic for them. And
Yeah.
then either
And you
symptoms,
know in which way it would be isolating.
yes,
Paying attention to the pattern, your eldest is more likely to respond. Like to
yeah,
not have shared because of this way or that way. Yeah.
right.
Oh,
Yes. And
beautiful.
just like the wherewithal to talk through things that happen
Hmm.
before stuff gets too deep. Like I feel like we spend a lot of time breaking emotional isolation over all the things because why not? And then it's like I think actually we had just had an occasion where all of my kids were with their cousins and there was like a traumatic event that happened and I wasn't there, of course. And so when they got home, I was like, we need to talk about this and how each of you were feeling in your own experience of it. And then they still got symptoms, but
Hmm.
they were far less severe than the cousins that got like crazy amounts of symptoms and it was like way more intense for them. And I was like, because we were so specific about talking through their experience
Yeah.
and breaking that isolation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was
So
interesting.
cool. It sounds like you've really integrated into your
Oh,
family culture.
yeah, absolutely. My husband still kind of rolls his eyes sometimes, but
Yeah, yeah, fair. It's good to have a skeptic, it keeps you sober.
it's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's tell this very funny story about your son's swollen penis. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not funny for that he had to experience it,
I
but
know.
like the context
Poor
is
kid. Yes. So, um, I was changing my baby's diaper, and then my toddler, who was 3 at the time, was kind of sitting with us, and they're both boys. And I was just changing his diaper. I think he got up. the baby got up and crawled away as babies do when you're changing their diaper and they don't want a fresh one on. And so, and then the toddler like grabbed, like went to grab. I'm not even sure if he ended up touching it or not, but I totally had the mom freak out. Like, oh, you can't grab his penis. Like, oh my gosh. And made this huge deal about it and made a fuss.
Um,
And then I put him all away. And then the next day, changing the baby's diaper again, and it was his penis was like huge, like so swollen, so red, so hot. And I was like, what is going on? Like, oh no. And then I have this whole panic moment. And then I like get him in a bath of Epsom salt thinking maybe that'll like calm the inflammation down or whatever. And of course, like, I'm like, oh no, he's got an infection in
mhm.
his penis and he's gonna have to go to the doctor and we're gonna have to get antibiotics and all the things.
Yeah.
And then he's in the bath of Epsom salt, and I was like, yesterday, yesterday I made a huge fuss
Mhm.
about his brother touching his penis.
Yeah.
And it totally clicked for me. And my husband was like, yeah, of course. And then within an hour, it was like back down to normal, like totally fine.
And did you say anything out loud, or it was just even for you?
I was talking to my husband about it. I was like, because he was standing there like, what are we gonna do with this giant swollen penis? And I was like, I don't know. Like, this has never happened to us before, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to handle this. I
Yeah,
think it
yeah,
was
yeah.
Saturday too, so it's like all the pediatricians are closed. We just have to end up going to the hospital if I was worried about it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was like out loud. I was like, "Oh, it was because I made a fuss." And I bet you like later I was talking about it and I was like, "I bet it didn't even bother the baby actually. It was the fact that I made a fuss about it." And
Mhm.
I was like, I put shame into both of them of like, "You can't do that. Like you don't touch each other. That's weird, you know?" Like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
um and it wasn't like this calm thing where I was like, "Oh, let's keep our hands to ourselves."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're so perceptive. I've really
Yeah.
noticed that with our son, occasionally having like a diaper rash. But it always
Hmm.
comes after because like we've been doing EC since he was like, I don't know, 4 months, like I mean
Yeah.
casual EC, but we've been doing it.
Yeah.
And when you're really used to like now he's not pooping in the diaper, like he's always pooping in the potty. Um,
Hmm.
then when like he would poop in the diaper, it'd be like, oh my God, we messed up. We missed the cue. We didn't get there in time.
Yes.
It's a stinky mess. And I can't believe we ever used like we let him just poop in the diapers, like because now we're just used to this like clean situation with the
Yes.
potty. And it's like, of course he's like picking up on that and like, what? I'm covered in gross poo. Like, I don't want to be a gross
Yes.
baby and feeling soiled, feeling dirtied. And then, yeah,
Yep.
sure enough, like then in the next few days, like he would have this like kind of yeasty healing of the feeling soiled,
Yes.
feeling dirtied, uh, conflict. And yeah, it's just made me like really aware of like, don't like they're just so perceptive. It's like I know that,
They
but
are.
like wow, really, really being able to see how like our speech around them and our reactions like are totally mirrored. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Would you want to talk about the high blood pressure then? So you've had this is your fifth baby.
Hmm.
You never had high blood pressure or no high blood
High
sugar
blood sugar.
issues in previous pregnancies. That's right.
Right. Yes. No, I have never felt any blood sugar regulating issues basically ever in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this pregnancy, let's see, what time was that at? It was like probably 30 weeks pregnant. I had like suddenly I was like so weak and frail. And I was like, I'm gonna pass out. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat down, and because we don't do like traditional prenatal care, I like check my own blood pressure regularly. So I had a blood pressure cuff. So I checked that, and it was totally normal. And I couldn't think of anything else that was like that could be going on. And so I asked my midwife for a glucose reader
Mm-hmm.
just to test it. So we got that from her and I started testing and I had really high blood sugars. Um, almost like consistently after I would eat anything, like even if it was just like straight up protein. And at the same time, our property management company that we've been renting from for 4 years in the same house suddenly was like, "Oh, your rental agreement actually says that you owe us $500 more than you're currently paying us, and so suddenly you're gonna, your rent is gonna increase," and all of these other things that they were like, "You can't do this and you can't do that," and that we've been doing and living here and doing for the last 4 years. And so my husband was like, "The heck with this," and he went into full like defense mode, but he was trying to be very like political about it, and this all happened via email.
Mhm.
And so he's like trying to craft these emails, and I'm like a mama bear, and I'm like, I need to go down to the office and start like punching people. Like I got so defensive, and anytime we talk about like what he needed to say and how to formulate the email and resist them coming and taking what's ours and demanding things, I was like, no. And here's why, and all the things. And so it's totally this me like defending our position. Like this is our space, this is our, title, this is what we do, this is how we operate. You're not going to come in and tell me what is going to happen.
Mhm.
Um and so that's the blood sugar regulating stuff, that conflict. And so when it got resolved, basically we went from the property management company and went directly to our landlord and said, "Here's what's going on. This is not okay. Like, we need to nix the entire property management company." And he was like, "Yeah, sure. That's fine. Let's do this instead." And it was like overnight, the entire conflict just like fell away.
Yeah.
And I was thinking throughout the like high blood sugar readings, I was like, I bet this is a resistance conflict based on this. It got resolved, and then I spent like a day with really, really low blood sugar, and I like couldn't keep it up. Like I couldn't eat enough protein, sugars, anything to get it to come high.
Mhm.
And and then since that day, I mean, the conflict has not relapsed. It's like I just continued to have normal blood sugar readings. Um, and then
So, okay, I'm
yeah,
so curious about some of the details. So,
yes,
when you were taking the high, so before you resolved the conflict,
yep,
were you noticing fluctuations in the blood sugar in relation to how conflicted you were?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, what would happen is like they'd send us an email. My
Mm-hmm.
husband would spend a whole week talking with me and his mom and my parents and trying to formulate this thing. And every time we would talk about it, I
Mm-hmm.
would get so stressed out. I was like, I can't talk about this anymore. My body knew it was too much. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I need to walk out of the room. You need to go talk to somebody else about it because I just can't handle this. And then those readings on those days were so much higher
Mm-hmm.
than if we didn't talk about it for a week, because then he'd send his email and then they would not respond for a whole week, and it was like
Right.
quiet and crickets. And
Right.
then
So
they
then,
would
so
email
then it
back
would feel
again.
more normal for that week.
Yep, it would be
Yeah.
kind of normal, where I like knew the conflict was still there and it was still
Yeah.
present, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like glaring in my face, and I wasn't having to come up with like what we needed to say.
Yeah.
um yeah.
Okay, and then when you fired the company, spoke to the actual landlord, like solved your issue,
Yeah,
it was the very next day that you had the low blood pressure or
I
low
think
blood sugar.
so.
Okay.
It was like within a week, like
Okay.
that whole week, it was kind of like normal-ish, and then there was one day that it
Hmm.
was super low, and I'm not sure if it was like the next day or if it was within a couple days of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And did it freak you out, or like did you were you kind of aware of the two-phase pattern and like you kind of
I was
understood
totally aware of the two-phase pattern, so I wasn't totally freaked out.
it? Hmm.
What was weird is that we ate something. What did I eat? Oh, it was on my birthday. That's what it was. It was on my birthday, and my husband got me a crumble cookie to celebrate, and I had had no refined sugar since having blood sugar issues because I
Hmm.
was like freaked out by it being too high. And so he got me a crumble cookie, and I had 2 bites of it after my dinner, after a well-balanced dinner. So I was like, this is going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And then I it was within 30 minutes. I was like, oh, I don't feel good. And I
Mm,
tested my blood sugar and it was incredibly low. And
mm.
I was like, that's not normal of like, that's like the hypotension, right? Is that the, I don't know, the lower end.
Yeah.
Um, and so then at that point I was like, oh, I went into resolution
Hmm.
and now it's low. And so it
Hmm.
kind of freaked me out because I was like, gosh, if this gets too low, because this was
Yeah.
a kind of big conflict for me. I was
Yeah.
like, like this is kind of freaky. But
Yeah,
I laid on
totally.
the couch. I had like I think 2 or 3 glasses of raw milk and I just sat there and I was like riding it out. I was like, I
Yeah.
will be fine. And it was once I was like, this is the resolution, this is the epi crisis,
Mm.
then it was like I was fine and I had peace about it. And then it
And you
resolved.
also had the ability to measure and to know, like, okay, there's
Yes.
a point
Yeah.
I'm
And
putting
so I
out.
tested, I think, every like 10 minutes just
Yeah.
to see like where it was at. And then it started coming back up and I was like, okay, we'll be fine.
Yeah. 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 Wow, what a cool story. I love that.
Yeah.
Fun.
It was fun. It was fun to see it because it was kind of like a longer drawn out, but
Yeah.
still like an acute and not a chronic thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally. Totally. Okay, awesome. And then another pregnancy symptom, the pubic symphysis pain.
Yes. Yeah. So in past pregnancies, have had the slightest bit of pubic symphysis pain where, like, I would get up after sitting for a long time and that joint in the front of your pelvis just like, I described it as like ripping, burning sensation.
Hmm.
And, I was like, I just am not being held together well. And it would come and go randomly in other pregnancies. But then this one, as soon as I got pregnant, it was like intense and kind of regular. And it was weird because I would be like standing at the kitchen counter cooking something or doing the dishes, and without moving at all, it would suddenly just be like burning with pain. And I was like, this is weird because it's not movement dependent at all.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I could be doing absolutely nothing and suddenly be in excruciating amounts of pain, even though I didn't move the joint at all. Like this doesn't make any sense. Um, and so I almost spent the entire pregnancy just kind of dying.
yeah.
And I couldn't figure it out. I was thinking like, oh, this is, it's something to do with not being able to hold it together, right?
Mm,
Because the pelvis is the place that we hold it together.
mm,
And I just couldn't find the specific conflict or thought pattern that was causing it. Um, and that was like so frustrating for me. And at one point it was like I was crying in pain and I was like, if I if I believed that there was like a solution at the hospital, I would have my husband take me. Like I was in that much
yeah,
pain.
yeah.
And he was like carrying me into the bathtub because I was like I could not move. It
Oh,
was so
yeah.
so bad. Um and then finally, like, I think I made a post on the Circle app about it, and some people kind of prompted some questions. Um, because also I was like, is this a conflict active
Mm,
uh pain or is it a conflict resolution pain? Because I wasn't sure which one. And even comments on there were like, well, maybe it's a severe separation conflict and it's conflict active. And I was like, it just doesn't seem like it's conflict active. Like when my husband is home and I feel more relaxed and things aren't crazy, then I hurt more. So this feels like a conflict resolution and definitely a self-devaluation. And so I'm like, okay, what is it that I feel like I can't do?
mm-hmm,
And then what is it that I feel like I'm not able to do? And
hmm.
so and then throughout the whole pregnancy, I'm also having this like aggressive constellation where I suddenly am like screaming and yelling and throwing things. And I kind of was like, I couldn't handle everything going on with the four kids and, the property management company and my husband working so much. And it was like I would get into these aggressive fits where I could not control myself.
Yeah.
And and at the same time being like, how awful of me. Like that's terrible that I can't control myself. And
Yeah.
it was the like, I feel shame about being angry at things and
Yeah.
being aggressive. And when I realized that, and that I don't feel like I have control and can hold my own emotions and myself together, and that I'm falling apart on my kids and on my husband and those that I love, then that was the conflict for me. And so when I would then be at the kitchen counter just talking nicely with my children, and there was that like self-esteem boost of like, we're gonna be okay, and I
I'm
am
not a terrible mother.
yes, I'm not awful, when they bring me a flower, and they're like, you're the best mom, as they do, that's when the pain would be the worst. And it would be worse if there was like days of me just being in this funk and
Yeah.
mad at the world.
Yeah.
And then it was like things got better, things got easier, my husband was home for the weekend, and then it would be way worse after that. So once I made that connection, then I kind of stopped beating myself up over being upset.
Yeah.
Like I stopped ruminating on you're a terrible person. How dare you be so mad at the world? And instead just there's forgiveness for me and forgiveness for the kids for being however they were being that
Yeah.
triggered the stuff. And um when I made that connection, talked about it with a couple different people.
Mhm.
I talked about it with my husband. I think I talked about it with my mom, maybe, and then some friends. Like, this is the symptom I'm having. Here's my conflict that I believe it's related to, and how I've been feeling about it, and broke the shame and the isolation.
Yeah.
It like disappeared overnight, like completely gone. I was like, there would,
And did you, in those conversations, did you
yeah,
have any moments where moms were like, hey, me too? Like, I've been there.
yeah,
Hmm.
totally. Yep. Yep. And then it's even like my dad even was like, you may not remember, but when you kids were really little, like your mom did the same thing. Like,
Hmm.
because I was like, I don't remember her ever freaking out and screaming and throwing things at us, like that wasn't my
Yeah.
mom. And he was like, when you all were tiny, she did.
Yeah. Yeah.
When she was also pregnant and had a toddler, and like, yeah, she did. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Like, this is a hard thing that we walk through, and there's a lot of triggers.
Yeah. 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 Wow. So cool. So it actually, like, it truly just,
Yeah.
wow.
It totally did. Yeah, like it just melted away. And then there's been just very fleeting moments where I'll have this tiny tinge of pain. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Mhm.
It's like, I wonder what happened,
Yeah.
But it's totally fleeting. And it's kind of like it was in the past pregnancies where it was like would randomly come and then go away. And it wasn't like this regular intense thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And was the like intensity of the aggressive constellation worse in this pregnancy then?
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, the worst.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I've ever experienced. Yeah.
Okay, well, we can't go into depth on the aggressive constellation on here because it's like, we're
I know.
high level GNM stuff, but just
Yeah.
like very brief for people. We're kind of, when we
Yeah.
talk about constellations, what we're talking about is behavioral adaptation. So,
Hmm.
the first level understanding, which we, have to really master to be able to kind of get behavioral adaptations is, just the kind of basic tissue adaptations. Most of the stories we're talking about on this podcast. But there are uh, basically ways where when you have multiple types of conflicts, uh, the body also initiates these behavioral adaptations. And so with the aggressive constellation, a lot of people will be very familiar with it, and it is one that I really like myself have like, wow, I really understand certain people in my life like way better now.
Yeah.
I have so much more like compassion about, and also I know for a lot of people as well, like learning about it helps them understand themselves because a lot of people have this constellation. A lot of people
Yeah.
find themselves in these like fits of rage um and it's like 0 to 100, in a moment. And it's because you've stepped on the track, you know,
Yes.
and it actually is uncontrollable, right? Like it makes
Yeah.
sense that you had a self-devaluation of like, I'm unable to do anything about this because like, yes, sort of. When you're on the track, you're on the track.
Yes.
Like it's going to happen. And
Yep.
the way you have agency over it is like to observe that pattern and work on the conflict. So the two conflicts we're looking at here is an identity conflict and a territorial anger conflict. And when these are both active
Mhm.
at the same time, it depends which one has more weight, how it's going to express, but it can be this kind of outward aggression, what yelling, with kids, it can be very physical. So is also responsible for a lot of like kids who have like very intense outbursts. It's
Mhm.
so helpful to know about the aggressive constellation. So, um, do you want to talk about is it your daughter who had the aggressive constellation?
Yes. Yeah, my 5-year-old daughter.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So she, since she was a year old, has had these huge aggressive outbursts. And
And would
I
they
mean,
be like physical yelling, like
yeah, like she was trying to hurt me, like trying to rip my hair out, bite me, kick me,
yeah.
at a year old. And I was like, oh no. And I was, of course, pregnant with my third at the time. And I was like, how am I going to have a newborn and this toddler that's like literally trying to hurt me and
Hmm.
probably my baby, you know? And
Yeah.
so that was incredibly stressful. And we got to the point where it was like nothing we could do calmed her down.
Yeah.
Nothing we offered her. There was no regulation. She didn't want me to comfort her in any way.
Yeah.
And it was hours, like 2, 3 hours at a time.
Wow.
Um, and then it slowly just kind of got better for a season, and then it would come back for a season and it would be really intense again. And so this happened from a year old until she's now 5. Um, and she still gets these fits of rage. They're a lot easier to manage now and a lot shorter. But basically what I noticed and how I noticed her triggers were actually from watching my husband interact with her, and because I was like the outside perspective. So I would sit on the couch and watch, and it was, what really triggered my realization for her was that she was getting in the car and she tripped on something and like fell into her brother. And then it was like this snowball effect where like his thing got fallen, like it got spilled or something. And my husband immediately was like, dude, why did you do that to her?
Mhm.
And then she just started screaming and like
Yeah.
wouldn't get in her car seat. Like he's like having to force her into the seat belts to get us home. And she's
Yeah.
screaming the entire way. And I was like, which was normal, like for her. And I was like, okay, she didn't like how you perceived her. This was the identity. Like
Yeah.
she didn't like the way that you accused her of something that was an accident. And then it happened again where like she spilled something and he said something again that was like, dude, why did you do that? Or like, how come you're spilling stuff on purpose? Or, why did you hit your sister? And she's like, well, because, and doesn't have the opportunity to like defend herself.
Mhm.
And in, I was like, in her little 5-year-old brain, you are ranking her below what she wants to be perceived as. Like she wasn't trying to spill. She wasn't trying to be mean to her sister. It was an automatic, she doesn't have impulse control. And her sister took the toy from her, so she smacked her, like
Mhm.
um that was kind of just normal childhood behavior, but because there was this accusation about her character and about like her intentions behind what happened, it just set her off and she
Yeah.
just was screaming, yelling, couldn't be consoled. And so that's been really interesting. And I haven't quite figured out her, territorial frustration, but also she's one of 5 children in a quite small house. So I can assume that there's probably a lot
Mhm.
of like territorial frustrations and like things that are irritating to her within her space. So,
Yeah. Well,
um,
the language you just used around the identity conflict is so insightful, um, because that's exactly it. It's like, I'm not who you're saying I am.
yeah.
That's what I've really observed, like watching the people in my life with their aggressive constellations. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
wow, like, yeah, it's exactly in those moments of accusation where like it feels so like inane to the person,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not gonna like, name names in my family situation, but a person who has, an aggressive constellation, I'm like, and I'm the trigger like most of the time.
Mm,
And I'm suddenly like, oh, like, because to me, the comments I'm making or what I'm saying is like so not at all like in a combative spirit.
right.
Um, but again, it's not about my perception, right? It's
It's
about
not.
the other person's perception. And if, the person in the aggressive constellation, it's like, that is not fair. That is not who I am. You are like, it's like assessing my character, sort of
Yes.
incorrect, like you said, like ranking me
Hmm.
lower uh than I like how I see myself. And
Hmm.
that, when there's also this territorial anger conflict going, like it's uncontrollable snapping in response to that. Like
Hmm.
there isn't control for that person in those moments. And
Nope.
so, and for kids, there's many different, it often is like this kind of, being um seen as bad in trouble, like, but it can also
Yep.
be things like, let's say, losing a game or something, right,
Yep.
for some kids, because it's like, no, like I'm not a loser, right, like
Right.
it's not who I am, but it's very much about that how they're being perceived. And so
Hmm.
um like, so helpful, because now you can see that and you can like be conscientious about the language that you
Yes.
use, you know, to,
Well, and too, like I found that to get her off the track is as
oh,
simple as you didn't mean to do that.
wow.
Like it's literally like, my husband will accuse her. She's flying off the rails, like screaming, trying to like kick and hit him while he's trying to comfort her. And I'm like, you didn't mean to spill that. Or did your sister take that from you and that made you mad?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and then she's like, yes. And then it's like the soft crying. Like, it's the soft, like, I will be comforted now and I'm just hurt. And not the like, I'm angry in a constellation going to hurt someone.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Like, I think someone said in the circle app recently, another mother whose child is in this constellation, um, like she just needs to know that you're on her team.
Yes.
Because it's all
Yes.
these territorial identity, when we're looking in the temporal lobe, like these are all about pack dynamics, right? Like why
Hmm.
we have these conflicts. And so, of course, there is like this very survival like feeling in that moment of like it's like I'm being kicked out of the pack. Like I'm kind of, like I'm ranking too low to maybe be kicked out of this like of this dynamic. You don't really like, yeah, like you see me in this particular way anymore. And so my like biological adaptation reaction is like to fight like hell, because it's survival. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I just love the way this mother said it, like, okay, I gotta like how do I convey to my child
Hmm.
like I'm on your team, I'm
Yes.
on, like just because I like see something happen with this other child, like we're all on the same team still. It's not
Right.
actually kind of this like either or like divisive thing. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with mothers too, what I have observed um uh is it is often like not wanting to be like I'm not a bad mom, like I'm not a bad mom.
That's totally mine.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think
absolutely.
for most it is, it's like I'm not a bad mom. I'm trying so hard, but like I either feel like, yeah, for some reason there is this accusation from a child or an insinuation or whatever, or even just like imagining that someone else might be thinking that you're a bad mom, and then it triggers the aggressive outburst because you're on the identity track. And then the issue is obviously that aggression just it's like a snowball because it's feeding
Oh,
back into
totally.
like, oh my God, maybe like I'm not this person, but I am this person. And it's like that that tension. Um,
Yes.
and so I think there's so much relief for like when we get to like a an adult stage of being in this constellation to understand like, oh my gosh, like this like uncontrollable anger thing that I have, like, yeah, like it makes sense. Like it's this biological
Mhm.
adaptation. It actually is uncontrollable. Like I don't need to go to anger management. I just like need to work on
Yeah.
this conflict and the way that like I'm like really concerned about like how others are
Yeah.
perceiving me. Um, and
Yeah, and once I realized that and I was like, I am the good mom that's like being a bad mom and I don't like it. It was easier for me to kind of downgrade that even in my own thoughts because it's like I know that nobody's like like nobody within that I care about and their opinions I care about is really thinking I'm a bad mom. I'm just thinking that they are.
Mhm.
And if I was looking at me, I would say I was being a terrible mother. and and then also knowing, well, there is a territorial anger at play, so can we downgrade that also, like,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then it was like once I figured out what my territory was and came to peace with those irritations,
Mhm.
then like
What
it
was it for
totally.
you? Where did you?
Yeah, so at least for this specific pregnancy, it was like my territory was my body and feeling good in my body. And I wasn't quite ready to have another pregnancy when we got pregnant. I was like 8 months postpartum,
Mhm.
and I was like, I can't do this. This is awful. And so it was like, I'm sick on the couch puking. I feel awful. I can't take care of my other four kids. I'm having to stop nursing because I don't have enough milk for my 9-month-old. And so it's like there's this territorial, like, this is my body. I'm supposed to feel good in it, and I'm
Like
not. And
the pregnancy itself was almost
yeah,
an
it was totally the
territory.
pregnancy itself and not feeling good in my own body
Yeah.
and having the capacity to do what I wanted to do because I was
Yeah.
tired and puking, and then I feel like a bad mom because I'm not able to do all the things I'm usually doing with
Mhm.
my kids.
Mhm.
And then I have my 7-year-old saying, "You're the worst mom ever,"
Yeah.
when I
Mhm.
tell her she needs to clean up her room.
Yeah.
Um, and then then it triggers these aggressive constellations. And
Uh-huh.
then that just snowballed into, well, you're a terrible mom. You just screamed at your kids.
Yeah,
Or you
yeah.
took their rocking chair and threw it across the room and broke it. Like,
Mhm.
um, so it was the whole,
Wow.
I had to stop the snowball.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, so cool. So with your daughter now, it's like I want to be clear for people, like it's not like okay, you magically have resolved her con like, it's just
Yeah.
not how it always works, But
Yes.
but you have an understanding and like you can take
Hmm.
a 10 out of 10 situation and like massively downgrade it
Hmm.
by just like on the spot, realizing, oh, how do I get her on my like how do I get her to know that I still love her, that I still
Yeah.
like, want her in my family unit. Um,
Yes.
and just these like phrases. Um, yeah, I'm just curious. Anything else you want to say about that, or do you feel?
Yeah. Well, I think also just having the understanding of her perspective, it gives me so much more peace about
Mm,
her and her outbursts, right? Like I I would take it personally almost before.
mm,
And it was like, what am I doing wrong? Like I must be doing something wrong to make her like this as the mom.
yeah.
And now that I have the understanding that this is her perspective and it's her experience, I have
Mhm.
so much more capacity and ability to just let it happen too. And I think
Mhm.
that calmness,
Because it
and
doesn't have to mean something about you
it
now.
doesn't mean something about me, and
Yeah.
then at that point it doesn't trigger my own identity conflict with my own
Um,
aggressive constellation. So then I can have peace about it and just be present with her. And so before it was like, she would get, riled up, and then I would get riled up. And it was like this back and forth of like power struggle almost, of like who's gonna win. And now I can just be like, that was really hard. you know? And there's this like just, I guess it's just a piece about it. And
Mhm.
like riding the wave.
Yeah.
Um, and not feeling like, oh, it's some mineral deficiency, or, she's not getting enough this, or, whatever
Hmm.
I had so many theories of like, it must be the food dye, or it must be the sugar, or,
Yeah.
whatever I decided it was at the time,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. So,
So cool. Wow. Thank you so much for all these stories. Just like such practical insight. I love it. And it just makes me
yeah.
so excited to see like all of the GM things I'm gonna learn as like having kids and watching them grow up and just like what a
Yeah,
like great parenting hack, you know?
absolutely. Yeah. And it's so much easier for me to see the kids because most of their conflicts are very literal.
Hmm.
At least at this stage, we only got 7 and younger, and so it's easier for me to be like, well, what's my baby's territory? Well, it's me. I'm the territory. So,
Yeah.
or like separation conflicts are so literal. It's just
Yeah.
easier, I think, for me to see them and the patterns, which then helps me translate it to
Hmm.
my adult complex, thoughts
Yeah.
and things
I
because
also
of that.
imagine that it will be much easier for you then as your kids get older and they are in the teen years and it's things are a little less hidden. They're less wanting to talk to mom, but it's
Yeah.
going to be easier as someone who has been observing their
Hmm.
children's symptom patterns and ways of perceiving things from young to to see it in their teens instead of like starting from a blank slate. It's like you already kind of have
Yeah.
all this data because it's not like a 14-year-old just like, their perception is shaped, by
Right.
everything coming up before that. So then you're just going
Yeah.
to have um yeah, just like immediately. I just feel like you'll just kind of know um versus, a little more challenging
Yes.
if you
Yeah. Well,
your
and I
kid's already a
already
teenager.
feel, yeah, and I already have seen and felt like because I mean, we've been doing this for a couple years now and gaining understanding, but even my 7 and 5-year-old, if they have a symptom, are like, I must have had a conflict. And then
Mm,
they want to talk about it, and it's like, I think that as they get older, like it'll be easier for them to want to come and talk to me about things because they know that it's going to cause a symptom or it
yeah.
is causing a symptom and they want to understand what's going on so it doesn't happen again. And
Yeah,
so,
there's another and a different incentive to like
yeah,
to bring people into your experience because yeah,
yeah,
there's a consequence.
yeah.
Oh, so cool. I mean, I just think like what would the world be like, if all mothers knew this
Yes.
information? Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's definitely made mothering easier, and there's so much more peace about sickness and like having my kids out in the world with germs and all the things. It's like, but I know they're gonna be okay. And I know that even if they have symptoms, I don't need to freak out about it. And
Hmm.
that, peace when symptoms arise and that not making a fuss about a fever
Hmm.
has definitely not snowballed. And I've watched moms snowball their kids' symptoms into
Yeah.
much bigger issues and freak out about it. Whereas I'm like, I'm able to just have peace that my kid has a fever for a night. Like,
Hmm.
okay, or oh, they have a cough. I'm not worried it's RSV and taking them to the hospital.
Hmm.
Um, so that has changed, I think, my life and the trajectory of having children.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. These are just brilliant, brilliant stories. And I know so many mothers are going to have like huge light bulbs listening to these. So,
Yeah. I hope it helps.
yeah.
It's been good.